Coming up next, Building a Better You with Miss Lelia Lewis, right here on To God Be the Glory radio broadcast.
Hi, I'm Lelia Lewis, and welcome to another edition of Building a Better You. Now, today we're going to be reading from the book of Proverbs, and we're going to cover chapter 1. And chapter 1 is written by Solomon, and Solomon was the son of King David. But first, let's see, what is a proverb? Now, a proverb, it's like a short sentence that describes an event or speaks about a principle or a rule of conduct, but it's short sentences. And in this chapter, Solomon is trying to get people to understand, to know wisdom and instruction, and to understand the words and know what they mean. So we're going to read the first few verses, and then we're going to stop and come back and go over that, and then we'll move on. So we're going to start in Proverbs chapter 1, verse 1. And this is the proverb of Solomon, son of King David. To know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, judgment, and equity, to give subtlety to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion. A wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsel. To understand a proverb and the interpretation, the words of the wise and their dark sayings. Now, let's just stop right there, because this is the purpose of why he's writing these proverbs. Because he wants to first get people to know wisdom and instruction, and to receive the instruction. And what is instruction? That's direction. It's telling you how to do something. And he wants us to get the instruction of wisdom, which is an in-depth insight. He wants us to get instruction of justice. And he wants us to get an instruction of judgment and equity. And justice is being impartial. It's just being fair. It's going by the law. And judgment is a final decision. And equity, of course, is equal. No bias. Everybody is judged on the same criteria. Now, verse 4, he says, to give subtlety to the simple. And in this instance, simple means those that may not be as smart, or don't read as well, or don't comprehend as well. He's giving them the subtlety, which is the ability to grasp, because he's writing it in smaller words, words that anyone can understand. So he's trying to give that to the simple, and to the young man will get knowledge and discretion. So the young man that can read, he'll get the knowledge, he'll get the body of truth, he'll get all the information. And discretion. Discretion is the ability to make a reasonable decision. Not any kind of decision. We make decisions every day. 5 and 6 decisions a day. But how do we make them? Are they wise, or are they just flying off the cuff, impulsive? So many times we make impulsive decisions, and then we find out we shouldn't have done it that way at all. So he wants to give instruction for discretion, so we'll know how to make wise, reasonable decisions. And he says a wise man will hear, and that will increase his learning. And a man that has understanding, he'll know to attain wise counsel. And to attain wise counsel means to get advice or guidance from someone wise. Well, just like we read the book, we read the Bible, we understand, we learn. That's what we're trying to do here. So you get a clear understanding. This is our counsel. We read our counsel every day. To understand a proverb and its interpretation. That means to get what it's saying, and the interpretation is the explanation. That's what the purpose of his proverb is. Now we're going to proceed on from verse 7 because this is under a different kind of category in his proverb, and it's giving you a warning about doing things we shouldn't do. It's a warning about doing violent things. And we have so many violent things going on in our world today. So we're going to read forward for a few verses here and come back and see what the meanings of these words are. In verse 7 it says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge." Well, the fear of the Lord is not to be afraid, but to be respectful, reverence, honoring him, knowing he is the Almighty Lord. That's the beginning of knowledge. But, like it says, fools despise wisdom and instruction. They don't want anybody to tell them anything. They want to do it their way. They're not interested in any guidance or anything like that. They despise wisdom and instruction. But it says, "My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother. For they shall be an ornament of grace unto thy head, and chains about thy neck." So that means parents, when your parents tell you to do something, we all have children or grandchildren or whatever, and you tell them, don't do this or this is going to happen, don't do that, stop running, you're going to fall, you're going to get hurt, and you keep saying the same thing over and over again, and they're ignoring you, just running and ripping until they fall. Now they're crying, and what's the first thing we say? Didn't I tell you not to do that? And it's the same thing here. It says, "Hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of their mother." So that means listen to what your parents say. Forsake means don't turn away from your mother. Don't turn away from your parents. And it says, if you obey them, that's like having a crown over your head and gold chains around your neck. And then in verse 10, which it say, "My son, if sinners entice thee, consent them not. If they say, come, go with us, let us lay wait for blood. Let us lurk privily for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them up alive like a grave, and whole as those that go down into a pit. Then we shall find all precious substance, and we shall fill our houses with spoil. Cast your lot among us. Let us all have one purse." Now we're going to stop right there because there's the warnings. Now let's go back here. It says, verse 7, "The fear of the Lord," that we know is the beginning of knowledge. And we see here that the fools despise the wisdom and instruction because they want to do it their way. And it tells us to obey thy father and thy mother. And then it says, "If the sinners entice you, consent them not." That means the minute they say, let's go, here it says, come go with us and let us wait for blood. How do you wait for blood? So they're looking automatically, that's their goal, to attack an innocent person. Come go with us. Let us look for blood and lurk privately. Privily means privately, secretly. That means let us sneak around and find the innocent without cause. So they attack people they don't know. They don't have a reason for it. And it says, let's swallow them up, just like the grave, like they go down into the pit. And then we shall find all precious substance. So they're saying, come go with us. We're going to break into a few houses. Nobody's going to get hurt. And then everything we find, we'll divide it up among us. Come on, cast your lot with us. Let us all have one purse. And that's what that means. They're wanting you to come with them to be destructive, to take advantage of innocent people. And we see that all the time. We see it every day. We see it every day. And then it says, but, now verse 15, my son, walk not in the way with them. Refrain thy foot from their path. For thy feet run to evil, and make haste to shed blood. Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird, and they lay wait for their own blood, and they lurk privately for their own lives. So are the ways of everyone that is greedy of gain. Anyone which taketh away the life of the owners thereof. Now we're going to stop there again. And we're going to go back to verse 15, where it says, my son, walk not in the way with them. The minute you hear them saying things that are negative, you're supposed to turn away. It says, refrain thy foot. That means stop. Stop and go back. That is not the path we want to take. For they are running for evil. They're looking to make problems. They're looking to shed blood. Well, what kind of a thing is that to do? But that's what they thrive on. That's what the evil people thrive on. The wicked doers. And we have that in our news every single day. And it says they're going to spread a net in the sight of any bird. So it's almost like a trap. It's like a trap. That you're going to just fall down. You're walking along innocently and you walk across the net and bam, you fall down into the pit. But it says in verse 18, it says everything they're saying, they're laying in wait for their own blood. That means everything they're planning, all this stuff they're talking about, is going to come back on them. Now, we're going to go to verse 20, and that's going to be under a whole different heading, but it's all a part of the same thing, and it's about the result of rejection. Now, we're going to read through this and come back and see the connection. Now, wisdom here is like a woman's voice crying out, because it says, wisdom crieth without. She uttereth her voice in the streets. So wisdom is crying to everyone. She's crying in the chief place of concourse, the openings of the gates, and in the city. She's uttering these words. And wisdom is saying, how long will ye simple scorners delight in simplicity? And the scorners, how long will they delight in their scorning? And the fools, how long will they hate knowledge? So that means I've told you, I've put it in simple words for anybody to understand, but nobody cares. So they say, well, how long do you want to stay in simplicity? Why don't you want to learn? Why don't you want to get wisdom? Why don't you want to get knowledge? And the scorners, how long are they going to just love hating, hurting people? How long are they going to enjoy that? And to scorn is to openly disrespect somebody. And they do that when they attack people they don't even know. They don't know these people, but they don't care. And it says, and the fools, well, they hate knowledge, period. They don't want to hear anything about anything. So they're not interested in instruction. They don't want any direction. They don't want any education. They don't want you to tell them what they can and can't do. And those are the fools. Now it says, I've been telling you all these things. You turned away at my reproof. And reproof means my reprimand, my scolding. Like we scold our kids and they just keep turning away, ignoring us, not paying any attention. Well, wisdom is saying, I'm trying to teach you. And you're turning away. You turned away from my reproof. And I poured out my spirit unto you. And I made known my words to you. I poured out my spirit. I mean, that means that I told you what was on my mind. I tried to help you in every way I could. But you didn't pay any attention to me. Now, here's the part that really hurts. Because of you rejecting me, now you're going to see what happens. I've called upon you. I have stretched out my hand to you. No man had any regard for what I was saying. No man had any regard for any of my advice. You paid no attention to my counsel. You didn't listen to anything I advised you of. And you accepted none of my scoldings. You ignored me continually. And what does it say in verse 26? Wisdom is saying, well, now I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock you when your fear cometh. So now wisdom is saying, since you ignored me, everything I did, everything I tried to do, tried to educate you, gave you advice, gave you warnings, now it's my turn to laugh at your calamity. And what's a calamity? A calamity is destruction. They're self-destructing. Now it's my turn. I will mock you when fear cometh. And to mock means to make fun of. You know how you make fun of people. You know how to mock people, I'm sure. So now wisdom is saying, okay, you turned your nose up at me, so now I'll mock you and make fun of you. Now that you have distress, when you're distressed and in desolation, and desolation means abandon. So where are all those people that said, come on, go with us? They abandoned you. They're looking out for themselves. Now you stand alone with no one. And wisdom is telling you that. When your fear cometh of desolation, that means abandonment, and your destruction comes to you like a whirlwind. You know how fast a whirlwind comes? That's like being in a tornado. And that's how fast your destruction will come. And destruction is ruin. You will be ruined by all the things you previously tried to do to someone else. And that's why it said back in the other part that it would come back to haunt them, I told you. Everything that they were planning would come back to haunt them. And that's exactly what happened. So now, your fear cometh, your destruction cometh like a whirlwind. You're distressed and you're in anguish. And distress is total misery and upset. And anguish is even worse because that's extreme pain and sorrow. Now all these things have come unto you. And now what? You have no one. You listen to those that wanted to take things from other people. You listen to those that wanted to do injustice to other people. And I don't know if you all heard that on the news. I heard it last week, and I always share things that I hear on the news. But it was about a tractor trailer driver. And he had parked his trailer in the parking lot at a mall near where he lived. And he went home to take a nap because he knew he had to get up the next morning and drive that trailer to Florida. But in the interim, while he was sleeping, men came and broke into the tractor trailer. And what was in the tractor trailer was $750,000 worth of dimes. dimes, dimes. Because he was supposed to be taking it to Florida, I guess to a bank or wherever they take it. But they broke into it overnight, and when they showed the news the next morning, you saw all these dimes all over the parking lot, piles of them. So I guess they came into the night as they hid and waited for darkness, broke in, took as many dimes, I guess, as their truck or whatever they had could hold, and vanished in the night. Now, I say all that to say, these things, that's a big scale. But so many of these same things are happening in our lives around us today on a smaller scale. People are still getting shot. People are still getting stabbed. People are still getting carjacked. This is all the evildoers that are saying, come throw in with us. We will share the spoils. What satisfaction should one get out of taking a life of someone else or something from someone else and saying, oh, now we can split this up. Now we can have this. The other thing I saw was a guy running away from the police. They had a car chase, and he jumped out his car and started running, and he's running down the street. The cops are running behind him, and then this pizza guy, he turns around and he sees this guy coming down the street running from the police, and he's standing there getting ready to deliver pizza. He turns around, and when the guy gets up to him, he just sticks his leg out and trips the guy. So the guy falls, the cops catch him, end of story. What did he accomplish? I don't know what they were chasing him for, but he had to have been doing something he had no business. And that's where I said, everything you set out to do to others comes back to you. And that's where that goes. So that being said, let's see, where did I leave off? Okay, let me see, verse 28. Okay, so verse 28 says, now that all you've had this distress, which these people had, now you want me to help you. Now you call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For they hated knowledge. They didn't choose to be fearful of the Lord. They didn't listen to any of the counsel of wisdom. They didn't want any advice. They didn't listen to the reprimands. None of that. But now you call on me for help. They wouldn't listen. But verse 31 says, and since they didn't, therefore they shall eat the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own devices. There's their payment. Everything they set out to do will come upon them. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of the fools shall destroy them. But the good news is, anyone who hearkens unto me shall dwell safely and shall be quiet from fear of evil. So that's telling you in that one chapter, you've got a choice. You've got a choice. You have a choice of the wide path. You have a choice of the narrow path. So what would you choose? The wide path, the wide path is full of opportunities, and whether they're right or wrong or not, that's a different story. But it's a quick fix. It's easy money. It's popularity. It's wealth. It's anything. Anything goes on the wide path. But you've got to remember, the wide path is only temporary. Now the narrow path, that's also full of opportunity. But the difference is that the narrow path is the blessings from God. If we live by the word, follow the word, our fixes may not be as quick, but the difference is they will be permanent. Both paths have consequences. The choice is yours. I've already made my choice. I'll go with the narrow path. I want the permanent path. So many people make the mistake of wanting the quick fix, and they take the wide path, and the wide path is because so many people venture to go down that path. Because everything looks so easy and so fast, and oh, I can do this right now. But it doesn't always work out for your benefit, and that's what they were telling you at the end of this chapter. What goes around comes around. I'm sure many of you heard that before. You can't just think you can do something to somebody all the time and pay no consequence. And that brings me to the poem I want to share with you today, and it's called Teach Me, Lord. The more God's Word envelops me, the more I want to learn to understand His passages, His scriptures to discern. I've now developed a habit of reading His Word every day. How else can I follow His footsteps or walk in the Christian way? There's nothing I want more, Lord, than to draw closer to you, to apply your word and your wisdom in everything I do. Nothing really matters now. Nothing's more important to me than to read your word and understand we must pray continuously. Sometimes we want quick responses so we can ease our troubled mind. But beyond a shadow of a doubt, your answer will be right on time. Teach us patience and obedience to keep you ever in our mind, and know that with your guidance, true peace and serenity we'll find. Are you looking for quick responses? Are you looking for a quick fix? Everybody wants things to go their way so that they don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to worry about it. It's not on my mind. Just go do it. How many times have we done impulsive things and sorry for them a day later, a week later, a month later, knowing you shouldn't have done it in the first place? I spoke to you before about that still, small voice inside that tells you that's the warning. That's wisdom telling you, don't do that. Take the narrow path. Sure, it may be a little longer, but wouldn't you rather have longer and permanent than quick and temporary? Learn how to be patient. Follow God's word. Learn how to read and understand so that you can learn to apply it to your everyday life. That's the whole purpose of this chapter, these Proverbs that Solomon wrote. He wanted us to obtain wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. It's not that difficult. It's simple words. Read it to yourself. Meditate on it. Think about how it can impact your life. This is one of the best books for learning how to interpret, to get the explanation. And I'm going to ask you, so what path are you going to choose? You think about that. The quick fix or the forever fix? I told you my choice. I hope yours will be the same. And my closing words for today are, no matter what the facts may say, only God's word is final. Until next week, I'm Lelia Lewis. Thanks for joining me.
a powerful word. What a powerful word that was. Wow. Building a better you with Miss Lelia Lewis.
All right. Juanita. And Darlene Thomas. Thanks for joining me today.
And Robert Thompson.
And Robert Thompson. Okay. Join me again next week.